Welcome to my channel USA Liberty World Coin episode, where we dig deep into the pockets of history and pull out treasures you might not even know you own. Today, we're going on a journey back in time to the height of a world war, to an era of sacrifice and innovation. First up, let's talk about the what and the when. The coin we're putting under the microscope today is the 1943 P Jefferson nickel. Now, at first glance, it might look like any other nickel, but trust me, this is no ordinary 5-cent piece. The P MintMark you see above the dome of Monticello on the back isn't just a letter. It's a badge of honor. It tells us this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most critical periods in modern history, the year 1943, with the world engulfed in the Second World War. Next paragraph. Let's get into the why it was made, and this is where the story gets really fascinating. Why does a humble nickel from 1943 look a little different? Maybe a bit duller in color than the ones in your pocket change. The answer lies in the war effort. Nickel was a critical metal, essential for producing armor plating and other war materials. The United States government realized they needed to conserve every ounce of it for the troops. So, in a remarkable move from 1942 to 1945, the Mint changed the recipe for the 5-cent piece. Now, imagine the scene at the Mint. Instead of the usual copper and nickel, they began striking these war nickels from an alloy of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. That's right, your 1943 P nickel isn't just a coin, it's a piece of silver. This new composition is why they have a distinct look and feel, and it's the entire reason why, even if worn smooth, they hold a baseline value far above 5 cents. To easily identify these silver war nickels, the Mint placed a large mint mark, including the first ever P for Philadelphia, prominently above Monticello. So, we've established that it's a silver coin from a historic era. But the big question, the one you're all waiting for, is why is it so valuable? Is it really worth a fortune? Well, the answer, like the value itself, has a wide range. You see, the Philadelphia Mint in 1943 was working overtime for the war effort. They produced a staggering 271,165,000 of these nickels, a record at the time. This massive number means that in lower circulated grades, a 1943 P is not a rare coin. If you find one in your drawer that's been through the ringer, it's valuable for its silver, but not a life changer. However, and this is a huge however, condition is absolutely king in the world of coin collecting. While millions were made, how many of those millions survived in absolutely perfect, untouched condition? Not many. The value explodes as you go up the grading scale. A typical circulated 1943 P nickel might be worth just a couple of dollars for its silver content, maybe $2 to $3. But when you get into the uncirculated grades, the ones that look like they just left the mint yesterday, the prices start to climb into the hundreds. Let's talk about the magic words for Jefferson nickels. Full steps. Look at the image of Monticello on the reverse. You see the steps leading up to the mansion? On most coins, these steps are mushy or incomplete due to the striking process. But on a full steps nickel, the lines are crisp and distinct, showing 5 or 6 full steps. This is a hallmark of a perfectly struck coin, and it's what collectors crave. A 1943 P with full steps is exponentially rarer and more valuable than one without. And now, let's get to the fireworks, the numbers you've been waiting for. Just how high can the value of a 1943 P nickel go? We're not talking about pocket change anymore. We're talking about serious money. A standard 1943 P nickel in an exceptional Mint State 68 grade has sold for $660. But for a full steps example, the market goes into another stratosphere. A 1943 P full steps nickel graded MS68 sold at auction for a staggering $14,688. Can you imagine finding that in your attic? But wait, it gets even better. Because of the wartime chaos, some incredible mint errors occurred that make the regular coins look like small potatoes. We're talking about the wrong planchet errors. Imagine a blank for a Lincoln cent, which in 1943 was made of zinc-plated steel, accidentally getting into the press for nickel planchets. That's exactly what happened. These freakish errors exist, like a 1943 P nickel struck on a steel cent planchet. The value for these errors? They are highly desirable. One such 1943 P nickel struck on a steel cent planchet in about uncirculated condition sold for $2,640. Another example, graded higher at MS63, has also crossed the auction block for significant sums. These are the needle in a haystack coins that turn a good find into a legendary one. And remember, the MintMark is P, so you know exactly which one to look for. There are other varieties to keep an eye out for too, like the 1943 P double die verse, where you can see a ghost-like doubling in the lettering, or Jefferson's I, the double die variety. These are the result of a misaligned die during the hubbing process and are prized by collectors. One beautiful example of the double die obverse in MS66 condition sold for an incredible $4,920. So, you see, it's not just about the date. It's about the unique characteristics of that specific coin. Now, let's talk about maximum value. The absolute peak for this date, as we've seen, is a $14,688 for the MS68 Full Steps coin. That is a current record, the holy grail for a standard business strike 1943 P nickel. However, the potential for a unique error coin to break that record is always there. The value is driven by three things: the 35% silver content, the incredible World War II history, and the coin's condition. Is it really that valuable? For 99.9% of the 1943 P nickels out there, the ones with wear and tear from decades in circulation, the value is in their silver, perhaps $1.50 to $3. They are a tangible link to the greatest generation, and that historical connection is valuable in itself. But for that tiny fraction of percent that survived in flawless gem condition, especially with full steps or as a mint error, yes, they are absolutely unbelievably valuable. So, what is the maximum you can sell one for? It depends entirely on what you have. A worn one is a great piece of history worth its weight in silver. A gem, uncirculated one could be worth hundreds. But a perfect, full-step specimen or a dramatic mint error, that, my friends, is a five-figure payday. We're talking about the potential for over $14,000 from a single 5-cent piece. This is why I do what I do. This is why checking your change, looking through old family coin jars, and paying attention to history is so important. You never know what you might find. You could be holding a small fortune and not even realize it. A coin minted during a global conflict, made of precious metal, and preserved for decades, just waiting for the right person to recognize its worth. The 1943 P Jefferson nickel is more than just money. It's a piece of American history made of silver. It represents a time when the entire country pulled together for a common cause, even changing its currency to support the war effort. And for the collector, it represents the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovering that one perfect gem hidden among millions. Next coin, the 1944 P Jefferson nickel. This is a coin that sits right at the intersection of American history, precious metals, and the thrill of the hunt. It's a small silver disc that carries the weight of a world war on its design, and for the savvy collector or the lucky individual who finds one in an old drawer, it represents a real opportunity. We're going to break down exactly what this coin is, why it was made, and most importantly, just how high its value can truly go. First up, we have to understand the why behind this coin. The year is 1944. The world is engulfed in the Second World War. The United States Mint is in a unique predicament because the metals needed to make money, specifically copper and nickel, were exactly the same metals needed to win the war. Nickel was critical for armor plating, and copper was essential for shell casings and wiring. The War Production Board had the authority to tell the mint exactly how much metal it could use, and it wasn't much. In response to this critical shortage, Congress authorized a change to the 5-cent piece. Beginning in 1942 and lasting through 1945, the mint struck nickels from an emergency alloy of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. This is why the 1944 P is often called a war nickel. It's not just a nickel. It's a coin with a significant percentage of precious silver in it, a tangible piece of the war effort that you can hold in your hand. to make these emergency coins easy to identify and remove from circulation after the war, the Mint added a prominent feature. For the first time in American history, the Philadelphia Mint placed a large mint mark, a bold P, on a coin. You can find it on the reverse, the back of the coin, right above the dome of Jefferson's home, Monticello. This large mint mark is the key visual indicator that you're holding a silver war nickel and not a regular one. Now, let's talk about the numbers. The Philadelphia Mint in 1944 was working at full capacity to support the economy. They struck a substantial number of these nickels, with a total mintage of 119,150,000. This is a high number, and it tells us that in lower, well-worn grades, this coin is not what we would call rare. It was made to be used, and used it was by millions of Americans on the home front. Because of this high mintage, the base value of any 1944 P nickel is tied directly to its silver content. If you have a coin that has been heavily circulated, worn smooth, and shows significant signs of use, its value is primarily its melt value. Currently, that means a circulated 1944 P nickel is generally worth somewhere in the range of $1.50 to $5. It's already worth more than 5 cents. But we are just getting started. The real magic, and where the value explodes, is in the condition of the coin. Coin collecting is a hobby that prizes preservation, and the better preserved a coin is, the more valuable it becomes. For a 1944 P nickel, the jump from worn to uncirculated is significant. An uncirculated example, one that never saw circulation and still has its original mint luster, can easily be worth $10 to $25 or even more. But within the world of uncirculated coins, there is a special designation for Jefferson nickels that sends values into the stratosphere. Full steps. Take a look at the image of Monticello on the reverse. The steps leading up to the mansion are a key diagnostic tool. On most nickels, these steps are soft, mushy, or incomplete due to the striking process. But on a full steps nickel, the lines are crisp and distinct, showing 5 or even 6 full unbroken steps. This is incredibly difficult to achieve and is a mark of a perfectly struck coin. For the 1944 P, finding one with full steps is a challenge. In fact, experts note that non-full step examples outnumber full step specimens by a ratio of over 4 to 1. This scarcity is what drives the value up. While a nice uncirculated coin might be worth $25, a gem uncirculated coin with full steps is in a completely different league. Auction records show that in 1944, P in MS67 grade with full steps has sold for prices ranging from $2,040 to an astounding $7,637.50. Let's look at the absolute peak. What is the maximum value we have seen for a 1944 P nickel? The records show us that the very finest known examples command breathtaking prices. A coin graded MS67 Plus with full steps, one of the highest graded examples in existence, sold at auction for $9,400. Think about that for a second. A single 5-cent piece minted by the millions in perfect condition is worth nearly $10,000. But the story doesn't end with the regular strikes. The 1944 P is a fascinating and unique detour in its history that adds another layer of value and intrigue. The Henning counterfeit. In the 1950s, a man named Francis Leroy Henning decided to counterfeit nickels. He chose to fake the 1944 date, but he made a critical error. He forgot to include the large P mint mark above Monticello. Because all legitimate 1944 nickels are war nickels with a large mint mark, Henning accidentally created a coin that never existed, a 1944 nickel with no mint mark. These Henning nickels are made of a different alloy, copper and nickel, not silver, and have other telltale signs, like a distinctive hook on the letter R in pluribus. While they are counterfeits, they have become collectible in their own right due to their unique place in numismatic history, creating a fascinating sub-market for these quirky errors. So, can a 1944 P be valuable in the future? The answer is a resounding yes, and for several reasons. First, it has the inherent value of its 35% silver content, which acts as a floor for its price. As the price of silver fluctuates, the base value of every war nickel moves with it. Second, Its historical significance as a World War II-era coin ensures a constant and enduring demand from collectors who want to own a piece of that era. The value is only going to go one direction for the high-end pieces. As time passes, coins in pristine condition become harder to find. Collectors with means will always compete to own the finest known examples, the MS-67 plus full steps coins. The current record of $9,400 for a regular strike, and the potential for even higher prices for the handful of MS-68 graded coins suggests that these are sound investments. The maximum you can sell one for today depends entirely on what you have. If you find a 1944 P in your change jar that's been through the ringer, you have a nice piece of silver worth a few dollars. If you find one that looks like it was just made with sharp details and that distinctive satiny luster, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds. And if you have one with full, crisp steps on Monticello, and it gets certified as a gem by a service like PCGS or NGC, you are potentially holding a coin worth thousands of dollars. The $9,400 sale proves that the ceiling for this coin is incredibly high. This is the excitement of this hobby. It's the possibility that something so small, so easily overlooked, could be so significant. The 1944 P nickel is a perfect example. It's a coin born of necessity during a global conflict, made with precious metal to save the nation, and marked with a first-of-its-kind P to identify its purpose. It's a history lesson, a piece of silver, and a potential treasure all in one. Now, I want you to look at the steps. That is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Get a magnifying glass, or even just a good strong light, and look at the building on the back of every 1944 nickel you come across. Are the steps complete? Are they sharp? If they are, you need to get that coin into a protective flip, and seriously consider having it professionally graded. And don't forget the Henning story. If you find a 1944 nickel with no mint mark at all, you haven't found a mistake from a mint. You found a piece of criminal history. You found a counterfeit that is now more desirable than many genuine coins. It's another layer of value hiding in plain sight. So get out there and start searching. Go through those old coin folders. Check the jars of change. Ask your relatives if they have any old coins tucked away. You're looking for that large P above the dome. You are looking for a piece of World War II history made of silver. And you are looking for those elusive, perfectly struck steps that could be your ticket to a five-figure discovery. The 1944 P nickel is out there waiting to be found, and its value is only going to climb. Happy hunting. Second coin, the golden dollar in your pocket. The one you might have used to buy a soda years ago could be the single most important coin you will ever own. We're talking about the 2000 P Sacagawea One Dollar Coin, but not just any Sacagawea dollar. We are looking specifically at the treasures, the ones with the stories that sound like fiction, and the coin that carries the mark of a Shoshone woman who helped chart the American West. First, let's go back to the end of the 20th century. The United States Mint had a problem. The Susan B. Anthony dollar, introduced in 1979, was a disaster with the public. People confuse it with a quarter because of its similar size and color. It was rejected by the masses, though vending machines loved it. So, Congress passed the United States Dollar Coin Act of 1997, which mandated a new dollar coin that had to be golden in color, have a plain edge, and be distinctly different from anything else in circulation. The goal was to create a coin that would actually be used by Americans. In the year 2000, the SacagaweaDollar was born. The obverse features a beautiful portrait of Sacagawea, the Shoshone interpreter and guide for the Lewis and Clark expedition, carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, on her back. This design was created by the renowned sculptor Glenna Good-Dacker, who used a modern Shoshone student, Randy L. Hidao Teton, as her model because there are no known images of the real Sacagawea. The reverse, designed by Thomas D. Rogers, originally featured a soaring eagle. Now, the Mint was desperate to get this coin into the hands of Americans. They launched the biggest marketing campaign for a coin in U.S. history. They partnered with Walmart, shipping them 100 million coins to give out as change. They ran television ads. But the most famous promotion was with General Mills and their brand, Cheerios. This is where the fairy tale begins for collectors. The U.S. Mint struck 5,500 special Sacagawea dollars in late 1999. using the earliest dyes. They sent these to General Mills, who inserted one coin into every 2,000 boxes of Cheerios. Millions of Americans opened their breakfast cereal and found a shiny, new golden dollar. They had no idea that the eagle on the back of their coin was different. The tail feathers were bold, sharply detailed, with distinct lines. On the regular coins released to banks, the tail feathers were smoothed out, looking more like parallel lines. The Cheerios dollars, as they are now known, are a prototype of the design. It was not until 2005 that a sharp-eyed collector, Tom DeLory, discovered this difference, and the numismatic world went crazy. If you happen to have one of these Cheerios dollars, specifically the one with the highly detailed tail feathers, you are not looking at a $1 bill. You are looking at a coin that can sell for $5,000 to over $10,000, depending on its condition. In fact, a Cheerios dollar graded MS68 by P Sacagawea sold for an astounding $34,500 at auction. But surprises do not stop there. Remember Glenna Goodacker, the designer? She was a smart woman. Instead of taking a $5,000 check for her design work, she asked the Mint to pay her in the new Sacagawea dollars. In a special ceremony, the Mint director delivered 5,000 coins to her studio. These coins were special. They were struck with a burnished, presentation-like finish, different from the regular coins. They are known today as the Goodacker presentation dollars. For years, her studio sold them for about $200 each until the Mint asked them to stop. Fast forward to 2010, a Coin World article mentioned that 2,000 of these coins were still unsold. Jeff Garrett, a famous coin dealer, read this article, tracked down her agent, and discovered that the coins had been misplaced. They were found in a wine cellar. He bought them all. Today, these presentation dollars, with their special finish and incredible story, are worth between $400 and $500 each, and sometimes more. If you think that is wild, let's look at the absolute pinnacle of Sacagawea value. This is a coin that proves the U.S. Mint creates actual buried treasure. In 1999, the Mint struck 39 Sacagawea dollars in 22-karat gold at the West Point Mint. They were never meant for circulation. They were tests. All but 12 were ordered to be melted. Those 12 surviving gold coins were sent on a special mission. They flew aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia with astronaut Eileen Collins, the first female shuttle commander, traveling 1.8 million miles in space. For years, they sat in a vault at Fort Knox. In 2025, the Mint made a move that shocked everyone. They auctioned off 5 of these space-traveling, gold Sacagawea dollars. The final prices were not in the thousands. They were not in the tens of thousands. We are talking about prices between $350,000 and $500,000 each. That is $500,000 for a coin with a face value of $1. This proves that the value of the series is not low. It is astronomically high, if you know what to look for. However, I want you to pay close attention because not all of them are worth a fortune. The majority of the 2000p and 2000d Sacagawea dollars you find in a drawer are common. The Mint made over 767 million of them in Philadelphia alone. They are worth exactly $1. Maybe 2 if they are in pristine, uncirculated condition. But do not let that stop you from looking. There are other valuable errors. Look at the eagle's belly. If you see a raised eye gouge that looks like a spear cutting into the eagle, you have found a wounded eagle or speared eagle variety, officially known as FS 901. These are scarce and can sell for $100 in lower grades, and over $700 for a high-quality, graded MS66 example. And then there's the holy grail of mint errors. The 2000 P Sacagawea dollar struck with the obverse of a Washington state quarter. This is called a mule. One of these, graded MS67, sold for $102,000 at auction. So, how many people want to buy your Sacagawea dollar? Thousands of dedicated collectors are searching for these exact varieties. The PCGS and NGC grading services have tracked the population of these coins for years, and they are always in high demand. The current value depends entirely on what you have. It is a spectrum from $1 to over $500,000. The value is not low. The potential is explosive. Do not just spend that golden dollar. Hold it up to the light. Look at the eagle's tail feathers. Are they bold and detailed? Check the belly of the eagle. Is there a spear? Look at the finish. Is it unusually shiny and satiny? You might be holding a piece of history that started in the Philadelphia Mint, traveled to the general store of the 1800s with Sacagawea, landed in a box of Cheerios, and is now waiting for you to realize its true destiny. The maximum prize is a six-figure payday. Go check your coins right now. The treasure hunt is real,